everyone, and it's time to do another episode of Top to Flop. This one was recommended by Samuel Liddell, and he dropped a comment asking to do a Top to Flop for Mace Windu, and I thought, wow, what a great idea, man. What a great idea. I've got other figures I need to do for Top to Flop. Loads of big characters, like I want to do one for Darth Maul, Boba Fett. Doesn't get any bigger than Boba Fett. And, you know, Vader, and anyway. But when he recommended that, I thought, just what a great idea, despite the fact that, you know, for Mace Windu, there aren't that many variations of attire, should we say, how he looks, but the variety of figures is vast, and the depth of quality is also vast. So this will be an interesting one to go down the line here. And this one right behind it, I've only just opened it in the last 2 days. For my channel members and Patreon members, I opened this figure. I did kind of an in-depth analysis and comparison between this reissue and the original one. So there he is, and he could have been top place, but he's not. He did not beat this guy here. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the best Mace Windu I think we've had. And that is a controversial choice, because this is a Mace Windu for a very specific period of time, the Clone Wars, albeit the Dave Filoni look. This is a crying shame, this figure. A travesty, another casualty of the Orange Black Series card line. A line that gives me sleepless nights. A line that saw a number of figures that were potential TVC gold, like this girl. Just imagine her on an Expanded Universe card. Imagine Darth Plagueis on one. Imagine him on a Clone Wars card. Because back then you only had Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, and Anakin. Just imagine Samuel L. Jackson on a Clone Wars card. Oh, on a Clone Wars card back with this figure inside, it would have been awesome. Now, he looks slightly different from the Mace Windu in the, Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars. I think this is how he looks for the Dave Filoni era. Just 2 gauntlets on the arms, and the facial sculpt is what makes it the best. Look at the soft goods there. I dare say you could put a robe on this and it would look really good for an Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith one. But it's a splendid figure, this. And look at that. I love to just showcase that amazing wrist articulation there. He's doing kind of like a kung fu pose. Something like that, you know what I mean? Like a force push thing. So that's what it is. I couldn't give this guy first spot. I really wanted to, because Vintage Collection is definitive, and this is a Vintage Collection figure. The only problem is with this one is that they've made the skin tone lighter, probably deservedly so. Compared to the previous release, but the thing is that the eyebrows are way too thick and dark, so I can't really see Sam Jackson in that, I'm afraid. From certain angles, yeah, look at that. From certain angles, yes, I can. For whatever reason, that one pops at me now. But this is what's going to happen with this figure. I want to have it with these 3 gentlemen. Look at these. These are brilliant figures, and that is perfect for your diorama of the Palpatine, Senator Palpatine confrontation. All the trimmings, nice robe. It's more fitted as well. I don't know what the previous release was like. It's definitely, the skin tone is slightly darker. I think they've probably got a better tone there. Next up. Wow, I can't believe he's in 3rd place, this one here. This was the first Mace Windu I ever bought. And it's limited because he's got a very specific play feature on him. This looks like a guitar tuning peg in his spine. So I always have the robe, nice to see soft goods as well, covering that. And I always have this figure stood with my other 2002 Attack of the Clones Jedis. All of those seem to have hard goods, but this one had soft goods, which is quite good. It would have been, I suppose, a novelty or a kind of nostalgia thing to see soft goods like some of the figures from the vintage 80s, especially at the end of the line, Return of the Jedi. But the thing is, I like this figure, I like his face, and I like the fact it's got a nostalgic thing for me. It's the first ever one I picked up. I just like the action as well, because there's a lot of action in that arena, and that's why he looks good, just swinging around, man. Next up, it's amazing, the order I've put these in, it's interesting. Next up is this one, and when hard goods are done well, I love hard goods, and this is a really nice figure, has a very specific place in my collection. I have him stood with 2 other figures with hard good capes, young Anakin and Obi-Wan, and it is a very fitting figure for the funeral pyre of Qui-Gon Jinn. And a very poignant conversation takes place there. It's when you learn about the rule of two, technically in a movie anyway. Don't know where these rules would have appeared in canon novelizations back then, but definitely there's no question that the warrior, the mysterious warrior, was a Sith. Always two there are. No more, no less. A master and an apprentice. But which was destroyed? The master or the apprentice? That's my attempt at doing Samuel L. Jackson's voice. He's just looking so cool, isn't he, man? So I like this figure. I don't think I've ever taken the robe off. Should we have a look? No, I swear to God, I don't think I've ever taken this robe off. Aha! Well, looky what we have here. Wow. Quite nice. It might be reminiscent of the other figure that... Bear with me. No, he's not got any break at the wrist. Interesting. So, if you get hold of another one of these, I suppose you could use it as an indoor mace. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, oddly enough, this figure has served me well over the years. Whilst I've endured years of waiting for the VC35 in my collection, and for years he was too expensive to buy carded, so thanks for Hasbro for reissuing him. This figure always did well for me. I think he came out in a 2-pack with maybe a battle droid or a 5 POA clone, but he's really good. I think that he works so many different ways. We're not hostages to be parted with Dooku. He kind of looks like he looked in the arena, but also, as I say, I used to have him displayed with these three. He looks really good with the robe on, by the way, this figure. It kind of covers the 5 POA-ness. And I dare say the facial sculpt, I don't know, I can see Samuel L. Jackson in that. Much more so than other figures you'll see down the line in this video. Nice purple lightsaber there as well. I currently have him... I think I actually have him stood in the... he works really well in there as well, that Republic gunship. That's where I've just got him from, actually. But I've also had him stood facing Django like that. You know what I mean? He works well like that if you want to have a bit of a face-off there. Because those two have a quick, sick rivalry, man. And then after that, we have this gentleman. And I like this figure a lot. This figure was a sneak preview figure, and I have no memory of it ever seeing it in the shops before the film came out. I assume that sneak preview figures were teasers, like teaser trailers, you know, figures that they will drop in shops and stuff. But it would have been lovely to have seen this because it would have got me excited to see someone dressed like Obi-Wan and, you know what I mean, like a Jedi, and to think, wow, we're gonna open Pandora's box now on Jedis pre the Empire, of which this guy was one of them. And I like him as well because I was always a big fan of, and I'll show you a picture of them, the other figures in the Phantom Menace line, which is just standing Jedi. They're not made for action, they're made for standing. And I always have this Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan stood together. They look great together. And I dare say, if you really wanted to, you could have this guy stood with them because his robe is not in motion, it's just stood. Because there's a lot of conversations in the prequels and political protocol going on and whatever. So it's a nice figure. It also, interestingly enough, came with a blue lightsaber. Many years later, we all know why he got a purple lightsaber. He asked for it, the actor. Samuel L. Jackson, could you have purple? And then George is like, you could get purple. You could get purple, he said to him. Love it. But really, I think that you can tell, for whatever reason, if you were to guess who's green and blue in Jedi, I think that Samuel L. Jackson, I can see him as blue. Yoda's definitely green. Moving hastily on to a figure, I don't know where and when I got this figure, but I actually love it, but it's a terrible figure. That's why it's so low down. But what's good about it? Well, I always have this guy displayed back to back with another figure, which is questionable in its quality, because you can't do much with the articulation. It's like a statue. There's a very specific scene where Mace is stood back to back with Obi-Wan, and they're fighting off the droid army. They're right in the middle of it. In fact, there's a deleted scene. I always mention this. I'm going to say it again, though, for the purposes of those who haven't heard me talking about it. There's a deleted scene where you see Samuel L. Jackson and Ewan McGregor stood in front of a blue screen doing the back-to-back thing. And then I'm sure Ewan McGregor says, It's good in here, isn't it, sir? Or something like that. They're just improvising. It's funny, though. But this figure, let's have a look at it, though. The face is wild. I love the face, though. Look at him. He's just mad in action. So he's very dusty. Hang on. People always ask me about dust. I must do a video on that. He is just in mid-action, in flow, man. So I have him right in the middle of the droids, back to back with Obi-Wan. But he's bad. Oh God, he's bad because he's got. It would have been good for kids, but these weird joints for play feature. He's got probably a swivel action, has he? Wow, I'm sure a child would have loved that. But I just have him stood in an arena pose. It's great, but have him with his back to me so you can see Obi-Wan, because that face is a bit wild, man. Look at that face. Wow. Anyway, so you just kind of have him stood that way with Obi-Wan covering that button. And finally, the most disappointing Mace Windu of my life is this one. Remember I said earlier that I was really, really desperate to get hold of the VC35? And because of the reputation of the Saga Legends line, and there were some really good figures in that line. Some of them were as good, if not the same quality. In fact, sometimes in some cases, the same figure as you got in the vintage collection, or even the VOTC or the vintage Saga collection. I bought this figure, and I think I bought it for a premium, in the hope that it would be as good as the vintage collection one, VC35, but it's not. The reason you saw him stood like that was because I currently have him on my shelf facing away. The face is so bad. It looks nothing like Samuel L. Jackson. It really doesn't. I can't think who he looks like. I don't know if it's an actor or someone I've seen in a documentary, but he's better looking up, because he's got like I don't know, the joint is so weird. Look at it. It's wrong in all departments, man. It's terrible. It's got the articulation. It's got all the ball joints and blah-de-blah. But the head's wrong. It's the kind of figure that I just don't know what to do with now. In fact, because the head's so bad, you might look better with that on it. I don't know. So I need a Starfighter. If anyone sees a bargain on a Starfighter for Mace, let me know. I'm going to leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. That is my top to flop, but the best, without question, is this. In fact, since we've come this far, and I do not want to push this head too far down on this ball joint because it'll make it too wobbly, but I'm just going to stick it on the top to give you an idea. Now that would be the definitive Mace Windu. I know his neck looks a bit long there because I've not pushed the head on, but it'll just give you an idea. A Mace definitive is yet to be done. How about, ladies and gentlemen, or Hasbro if you're watching, do a Clone Wars one. Reissue this one. Or do something. Come on, Hasbro, get your act together. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. This has been Only One Kenobi, Only One. Out.